Good morning, everyone. My name is Kenneth Payne. I'd like to welcome everyone to our annual meeting for Authorized Backflow Prevention Assembly Testers. Before we get started, just a couple of minor housekeeping notes. First off, this meeting is being recorded. If you're having any technical difficulties, either viewing or hearing the meeting, there is a chat box on the right-hand side of your screen that you can use to interact with our IT support staff. They are also attending these meetings, and they can help you resolve any technical issues. There is also a Q&A box. If you have any questions, you can put those in there and we will answer those at the end of the presentation. Okay, so let's get started. First thing I'd like to do is introduce key members of the city's cross-connection control team. And Brad, you can go ahead and move to the next slide. Okay, thank you. All right, so first thing I'd like to do is, introduce you to key members of the city's cross-connection control team. As you know, I'm the Chief Water Quality Inspector. Besides me, staff you're likely to interact with is Jim Blue. He's our Senior Water Quality Inspector. Jim's inspectors approve all backflow prevention assemblies for containment on new water service lines. They also supervise cross-connection control shutdown tests on dual plumb buildings that have on-site non-potable water systems. Next up, we have Montian Du, Utility Service Representative. Montian is responsible for sending out the notices for annual testing. She also reviews all test reports for new and replaced backflow prevention assemblies. Montian can also provide PIC numbers when the mailing address is outside of San Francisco. Next up, we have Ivy Estacio, Program Analyst. Ivy is our CCAM's database administrator. Ivy interacts directly with the software developer on all enhancements and tests every new version of CCAMs before deploying it into production. At the San Francisco Department of Public Health Environmental Health Branch, we have June Weintraub. June is the manager of water programs. We have Michelle Kanyamato, senior environmental health inspector dedicated to the cross-connection control program. Michelle is in charge of issuing your permits to operate and maintaining tester and test company information. She is also responsible for enforcement for testers and customers that do not comply with testing requirements. At the Department of Building Inspection, Plumbing Inspection Division, we have Steve Pinelli. Steve is the city's chief plumbing inspector. Anytime a backflow assembly is installed, replaced, or removed, a plumbing permit must be pulled and that work has to be inspected. And finally, we have Dave Letta, senior plumbing inspector, who is our liaison with DBI for cross-connection control issues. He is also responsible for consumer complaints and the city's boiler program. So, topics. Today we'll be discussing the status of the city's cross-connection control program, reviewing highlights and responsibilities of testers in San Francisco. As I said before, you can write your questions in the chat screen on the Q&A screen in the side of the on your side of the screen, and we'll answer those afterwards. After we finish the presentation, each of you will need to fill out the online attendance form. We'll give you more information on this at the end of the presentation. If you do not fill out this form, you will not get credit for attending this meeting, and you will have to complete the training online at a later date. So, impacts of the pandemic. So after the city shut down because of the pandemic, customers delayed testing, especially when assemblies were indoors. A lot of businesses were closed during the initial shutdown, and so they weren't doing the testing. So Water Quality Division initially extended the grace period until 1 month after the pandemic ended. But after it became obvious that no end was in sight, we began our regular schedule in June. Unfortunately, many customers still have not had their assemblies tested. Customers need to get back on schedule with their testing. This might require 2 tests in 2021. As you know, because of the pandemic, in-person backflow tag sales at 525 Golden Gate were suspended. We know many of you have had issues in getting the tags that you need when you need them, and we apologize for that. Recently, we have made some changes to increase your options for buying tags, and we will be discussing that later in the presentation. In 2020, the number of backflow prevention assemblies grew by about 3.5%, almost 1,100 new assemblies. Testing business continues to expand, and we anticipate that by the end of 2021, there will be over 33,000 assemblies in San Francisco. So regulatory updates. The instructions for authorized backflow prevention assembly testers have been updated and posted on our website, available at sfwater.org/backflow. As many of you are aware, the state is developing a new policy handbook that will replace Title 17's cross-connection control requirements. Although this was supposed to have been final by January 1st of last year, the final draft has not been released. After it has been released, there will be 2 workshops for public comment. Once the policy manual has been finalized, we'll let you know if there are any changes to our tester policies or procedures. And now I will turn it over to Montienne.
Good morning, everyone, and Happy New Year. So backflow tags for 2021. As you know, after an assembly has passed testing, it must be tagged with the backflow tag for the current year. So for 2021, we have the yellow tag. Bypass assemblies require separate backflow tags, as well as test reports, in addition to those for our main assembly. It's possible that an assembly might need to be tested twice in the same year to get the assembly back on schedule, similar to what Ken mentioned earlier. In that case, a current year's backflow tag would be attached to each test. The cost of backflow tags is $21 each through June 30th, and it will increase to $24 on July 1st. Obtaining backflow tags by mail. Because of the pandemic, we no longer have daily in-person sales at 525 Golden Gate Avenue. To purchase tags by mail, fill out the form, print out the form, which is available on our website. Minimum purchase amount is 10 tags. Note that this can be filled out online and the dollar amounts would be calculated for you. And keep in mind that I know I've been getting a lot of emails and phone calls regarding this. I think it depends on the browser you're using, but try to use Chrome when you're trying to fill out this form. You can mail in the purchase request or drop it off at the night box outside the entrance at 525 Golden Gate Avenue. Customer Service Bureau processes requests on Wednesdays and sends out tags by certified mail on Thursdays. At least during January, the Bureau will also process tags on Mondays. For fastest result, drop off your request at the night mailbox by 8 a.m. on Mondays or Wednesdays. Keep in mind that the Bureau will be closed on Monday, January 18th for Martin Luther King holiday. Obtaining backflow tags by appointment in Burlingame. To help testers out when you really need tags right away, we are now selling tags up to 25 from Water Quality's office in Burlingame. This service is intended to assist testers with unexpected needs for tags. Owing to the pandemic, Water Quality has limited staff on site. For routine purchases, please plan to obtain tags from Customer Service Bureau via the USPS service. You'll need to fill out the correct purchase request form on our website. The form is titled Expedited Tags 25 Maximum. Email the form to Backflow and you'll be contacted at the phone number or email address you provided on the form to set up an appointment pickup time. You must have an appointment in order to pick up your tags. Appointments will be available Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. When you arrive at our office, stay in your car and call the number on the form. Someone will come out and meet you at your car. Bring the correct payment amount with you, and you will be given your backflow tags and a receipt. Backflow tags exchanges. Another first for us is that in January only, test companies may have a one-time exchange of up to 100 2020 backflow tags for an equivalent number of 2021 tags. To make an exchange, fill out the request to purchase exchange backflow tags and mail it or drop it in at the Customer Service Bureau with payment. The form on our website is at sfwater.org. The fee for an exchange is $15 for any number of tags up to the maximum of 100. Exchanges can only be made via the mail. CCAMS accounts. I assume that everyone here has a CCAMS account, and a few things to keep in mind. If you're both a tester and a supervisor, you will have two separate accounts and two separate login credentials. If you work for more than one company, you need a separate email address and password for each company. For example, if you work for 3 different companies, you'll need 3 separate accounts. When you enter your test results, be sure to enter them under the correct. Trouble logging in? If you forgot your password, click I forgot and a temporary password will be sent to your email account in your CCAMS profile. Be aware that you will be locked out of your account if you enter an incorrect password 5 times. In that case, you'll have to contact Water Quality for a temporary password that will allow you to log in and reset your password. You will also be locked out if your insurance or tester certificate is out of date. In that case, contact Environmental Health, not Water Quality, and provide current documentation. Then your account will be unlocked. Customer CCAMS accounts. CCAMS now accepts customer accounts. It's easy to sign up. In a few minutes, customers go to CCAMS and register, and their accounts will be approved within 1 business day. These accounts allow customers to choose one or more preferred test companies and have those companies notified when their assemblies are due for testing. We think that this feature will be very beneficial to test companies. Companies should be able to plan testing activities more efficiently, and you won't have to call our office for PIC numbers. We haven't sent out information to customers yet, but we'll do so shortly. We'll appreciate the help of the tester community in encouraging customers to sign up. There's a link to the CCAMS Customer User Guide on the Water Quality Division website. For CCAMS mobile application, so we're just going to review how to download test reports forms on the mobile app using PIC numbers. Make sure that the connectivity icon is green, which indicates that you have internet connection. Enter a valid PIC number on the PIC search field. Tap the search icon. And 3, tap the download test reports button. The number of sites should increase by 1. So we'd like to remind you of our CCAMS mobile app. It allows you to enter information in the field, so all the paperwork is done on site. The app works offline even if you're somewhere without connectivity, like in a basement. Once you do have connectivity, the app automatically uploads information in CCAMS. The app is free and available at the App Store or Google Play. Backflow Prevention Assembly Information Forms. A hard copy of the Backflow Prevention Assembly Information Form is sent to customers along with a notice indicating that testing is due. You can use this form as a reference for information related to the Backflow Prevention Assembly. You can either obtain these forms from the customer or download them from CCAMS, in which case you need to get the PIC number. 4 letters plus 4 numbers from the customer. Keep in mind that a property might have multiple service connections identified by SPIDs, and each might have assemblies associated with it. As you know, all test results must be submitted online. Due to technical difficulties with CCAMS last summer, we were accepting emails of completed forms, but we are back for online submittals only. PIC numbers. If customers can't find PIC numbers, they can call our office at 650-652-3199. This number is listed on the Cross Connection Control Program. Customers need to have the SPID number or for multiple taps, the service address. Only the customer, not the tester, may obtain PIC numbers from the Cross Connection Control Program if the test notice is sent to a San Francisco address. Remember that customers can now authorize the testers via email to get PIC numbers directly from SLPUC. For example, if you notify your customer via email that their assemblies need testing, copy Backflow on the original message and ask the customers to reply all to authorize the release of the PIC numbers. PIC numbers will be emailed to testers within 1 working day. PIC search, new feature. We've added a column for in-violation status to the PIC search screen. This column allows you to access details about the status of an assembly just simply clicking on the in-violation link. In addition to the PIC search, you can see the violations prior to going to the site without having to contact Water Quality or Department of Public Health. Test results. Test results must be entered into CCAMS within 5 business days of the test date, unless an assembly fails testing and cannot be repaired the same day. If an assembly fails a test, enter the results of the test in the initial test results area of the test form. Then contact the customer and request authorization to repair the assembly or recommend that it be replaced. If the assembly cannot be repaired or replaced the same day, enter test results into CCAMS the day of the test so that the Cross Connection Control Program is informed of the failure. After entering test results into CCAMS, you have a 5-day window for modifying the results. If you need to make modifications after 5 calendar days, call Water Quality to have the test canceled. Again, our number is available on our website. You will then be able to re-enter the test information. Be aware that a failed test result causes an assembly to be automatically rerouted to environmental health for enforcement action. However, entering a subsequent pass result returns an assembly back to normal status. Once a pass result is entered for an assembly, the test PIC number can no longer be used to access that assembly in CCAMS. Late entry of test results, consequence for customers. If test results due in a given month are not entered into CCAMS by the 6th of the following month, CCAMS generates a 15-day notice of testing due. If test results aren't received within the specified time, then Environmental Health sends an owner a notice of violation. If a customer receives this notice after having paid for testing, you'll have to explain the procedure to the customer. Customers can call the Cross Connection Control Program to check on the compliance status of their accounts. New installation form. New installations must be entered into CCAMS on the Assembly Management Add Assembly tab. Note that this form should only be used in 3 cases. 1, for an assembly that has never existed at the service address and is not a replacement for a previous assembly. 2, for an assembly that does not have a backflow tag. In this case, inform the customer and ask for permission to test the assembly. And 3, for an assembly not on the site's paperwork and that has an out-of-date backflow tag. It's a good idea to call water quality to confirm that the assembly serial number is not in CCAMs. New installation form meter number. On the Assembly Management Add Assembly tab, please enter the meter number at the service connection because it's really helpful for associating the correct customer with a particular backflow prevention assembly. New station form orientation. Be sure to put in the assembly orientation. The drop-down menu on the new installation form only includes USC-approved orientations, so you won't be able to enter an incorrect orientation. This is a good reason to use the CCAMS app because you'll know right away whether the orientation is correct or if the assembly is in violation before you test it. Or you can use the USC app to check the correct orientation. You can't rely on the assembly cut sheet. Assemblies must be installed in the orientation approved by USC. USC orientation key. If you are not familiar with all the orientation, USC provided an orientation key for reference. These orientations should be used when you are entering new installations or updating assembly information in CCAMS. Pay attention to the directions of flow of water through the assembly and the shutoff valves. New installation form unable to test. If a new assembly is in violation, check the in violation box in the unable to test section. Examples of violations include modifications, incorrect orientation, or an assembly that is not on the University of Southern California's list of approved assemblies. If you cannot test a new assembly for a different reason, email water quality with the assembly's make, model, serial number, size, location, and hazard, if you know it. Possible reasons for being unable to test might be no water, or the customer will not give permission to test. Once we have the assembly information, we will enter it into CCAMS and send the customer a notice to test. For an assembly not on the site's paperwork with a backflow tag that is out of date, call water quality, which will either provide a PIC number or ask that the assembly be entered as a due assembly. New installation form, hazard, assembly location, and DBI permit. Please do your best to correctly identify the hazard. If the hazard isn't listed in the drop-down menu, please select Other and describe the hazard in the comment field. Under assembly location, try to be as specific as possible. For example, second floor, north wall of utility closet labeled J2. If the assembly is in a multi-unit building, be sure to specify the unit. We also need the DBI permit number for the installation, so please ask the customer to provide it either to you or to water quality by phone or email. If you know you'll be testing a new installation, let the customer know that you'll like the number before you go to the site. If a permit wasn't pulled for the installation or the permit has expired, the Department of Public Health will send the customer a notice of violation and refer the case to the Department of Building Inspection. If DBI never sign off on the permit, we'll contact them for follow-up. Replacement of backflow prevention assemblies. When existing assembly is being changed out, the new assembly must be entered into CCAMS as a replacement assembly. If the assembly being replaced was tested, be sure to record the results of the test in the initial test field of the form. For the new assembly, mark the check box next to replacement information below and enter the replacement assembly information in the fields provided. Then record the test results for the new assembly in the final test area of the form. It is important that the information for both the old and the new assemblies be reported on the same form. That way, the customer will have the correct serial number and associated backflow prevention assembly inactivated, and the old and new assemblies will be tied together in CCAMS.
Go ahead, Manchen.
Oh, right. My screen says, okay. Replacement assemblies. On the right-hand side, new assemblies with an old pipe, and the left is the new assembly on a new pipe. There's been some confusion about when to enter an assembly as a new installation or replacement. Shiny new assemblies without a backflow tag or new piping are obviously new and should be reported on the new installation form. An apparently new assembly that has a serial number different from the ones on the site paperwork in the same location and an old or weathered piping is likely a replacement. Don't be worried if you didn't do the replacement yourself. We just need to be able to link the new and the old assemblies in CCAMs. Removal of backflow prevention assemblies. Removals must also be recorded in CCAMs. Go to the Unable to Test and check Removed. Enter the plumbing permit ID if you know it. If not, click the No Permit button and the assembly will be referred to DPH as removed without a permit. Recording of correcting information in CCAMs. If you think that information in CCAMs is incorrect, such as the location or make of a backflow prevention assembly, enter the correct information into the comments field. If you see a duplicate record in CCAMs, incorrect hazard, or incorrect customer information, please email us at backflow@sfwater.org. If customer information name or mailing address needs to be updated, tell the customers to contact SFPUC customer service to make the changes. Information will then be updated in CCAMs. Customers who want to change a testing date to another test month or synchronize multiple accounts can contact Cross Connection Control Program, and we can take care of that for them. For the initial change, some assemblies might need to be tested more than once in 1 year. And next we have is Michelle from Department of Public Health. Thank you.
Michelle, are you with us?
Hi. Yes. Sorry, my screen hasn't changed yet. But. Hi everyone, it's Michelle. Sorry, my video is so please bear with me. So for the in CCAMs, we have had some issues with both replacement assemblies and with assemblies, phantom assemblies that haven't been removed from CCAMs. So to kind of go over this process, we wanted to talk about the DCDA2s and the RPDA2s. So just as a reminder, the DCDA with a DC bypass is considered 2 assemblies in CCAMs. So you will have 2 tests, 2 tags, and 2 test entries for these. However, with a lot of these new DCDA2 assemblies, you will only have 1 entry. So please keep that in mind, especially when you are replacing the old DCDA with DC bypass with a DCDA2, or with RPDA and RP bypass to an RPDA2. So please make sure in CCAMs, note that sometimes you will actually have to do 1 as a replacement, the main assembly, and then the removal of the bypass, so that we get that extra bypass out of CCAMs and don't have issues with this extra assembly moving forward. So to go over this, we're going to show a video in the mobile app of how to do the replacement and the removal. And this is similar to other types of things that you would just do a replacement for or just a removal, but this is kind of combining it into one. So just keep this in mind. It might be the same, if you were doing the test and then have to do a replacement, a boiler for a boiler. Maybe you're doing an add new and a removal for a boiler to a radiant heat system or something like that. But these are basic processes for that.
Video started.
So in this first part, the assembly is just being picked. And you're going to enter the test and then toggle the replace assembly, the little green toggle button, to choose that you want to replace this assembly. This is for the main assembly, the DCDA being replaced by the DCDA2. And then enter in all of the assembly information. So it'll be make, model, serial number, um, the stuff that you usually enter for a new assembly. And then please make sure that you submit the plumbing permit number in there as well so that it can be reviewed as a replacement assembly and hopefully approved. In this part, they're entering the test information, same way that you would do any test results in the mobile app. So just make sure that you get this little pop-up that says that the test report is saved. So you know that you submitted the test information and that it can be uploaded later. And for this part, you're checking for the removal. So you click on the unable to test, you enter in the date, select removed, and then put the same, in the case of this was for the DCDA and DC bypass to the DCDA2. It would be the same plumbing permit for the replacement. So that's being entered. You can just enter it twice for both the replacement and the removal. Make any comments that you would like. And this is a section for the app. You can also upload a photo of the assembly. I just gave us a nice picture of a DCDA2 for your knowledge. And then this is giving you the confirmation that it was saved as a removed assembly. So that is the second part of it. Always make sure that we do the removed assembly section of it. We've had some issues with other ones where a replacement was submitted as a new installation instead of a replacement, and then the old assembly doesn't get deactivated. So if that happens, make sure later that you submit the old assembly as a removal or contact water quality or the health department so that we can try to rectify. The issue with these, they often then are sent to the health department for being delinquent. And it often causes confusion with the customers, and then it also it affects the compliance numbers. So make sure that you always submit the removals as well. Even if you didn't do the removal, if it was done by a third party plumber or contractor, the customer or the tester can submit the plumbing permit number to water quality, and then it can be removed from the system. So next up, we're going to be talking about correct installations, approved installations. So please keep in mind that all assemblies installed in San Francisco must be on the list of approved backflow prevention assemblies developed by the USC Foundation for Cross-Connection Control and Hydraulic Research. USC updates its list of approved assemblies throughout the year. Please keep this in mind and either look at the website or make sure that you have signed up to receive notifications if you are a member. Assemblies must be installed in the configuration and orientation approved by USC. Any modification of an assembly, such as installation in an unapproved orientation, removing shutoff valves, bypass arrangements, and placing Ls or other fittings between the body and the shutoff valves, invalidates the Foundation's approval. Please keep this in mind. We still have some assemblies in the city that have not been installed correctly, and we are still seeing some that have been recently been installed incorrectly as well. So a lot of times we know that you guys are not the ones that are actually doing the installation. So if you go out to an assembly, please do not assume that it was installed correctly. Please check. Testers are responsible for identifying and reporting problems in the field. Please do not assume that it is improved if it was installed or tested in the past. After the start of your testing, it is very important to carefully identify and inspect the assembly, check the information such as the make, model, and serial number, and make sure that it is consistent with the information on the test form or in CCAMs, and then ensure that there have not been any modifications or other violations that would invalidate the approval. So hopefully everybody is familiar with the USC list. However, if you are not, please go to usclist.com, or you can also download the list from the website. So on the left-hand side, the website has a handy tool so that you can verify assemblies in the field or office. When you select the manufacturer, model, and size, they will provide you with the approved assembly information. So on the left, it shows kind of the screen that it gives you where you enter the information. And on the right-hand side, it shows you some results of what came up. So it'll show you things like the orientation, which is very important to keep in mind. The lead is there, size, meter, bypasses, and stuff that are approved as well. Specifically, on the right, this is a 4-inch Colt 300 BF DCDA, and it is only approved in the horizontal and vertical up positions. So, however, this is a photo of that assembly, the Colt 300, in a vertical down position. So if you can see on the right hand side, the water flow is down, which is incorrect. The water flow is only approved in the vertical up position, or if this assembly was in the horizontal position. So please note that this is unapproved. This should not be tested, and this should be marked in violation in CCAMs. Currently, I do not believe that there are any DCDA or RPDA assemblies approved in the vertical down position. So if you see this, a vertical down assembly in the field, this should send up a red flag to you. And then you could further follow up with the list, but in general, vertical down should not be seen in the field. Rotated assemblies. According to the 10th edition of the USC manual, markings must be cast on the body or located on a permanent nameplate, and these markings will either be located on both sides or on the top surface of the assembly. So as you can see in the photo, this RP is rotated 90 degrees, which is not approved. Violations. When marking an assembly as in violation in CCAMS, please select the best reason or reasons why the assembly is in violation. The selection of the correct violation types is important, as it may be used in the notice of violation. It's also used by the cross-connection control staff when they're trying to talk to customers that are confused on why their assembly is in violation, by plumbers trying to correct the violation, or of course by you, the testers, after the violation is corrected. Please take note that these are the violations that are shown under the new pick search feature that Montian presented. So although it is beneficial to include the additional violation information in the comments, it's very important to actually select um, the different violation types from the drop-down menu so that they are included in the notice of violation and under the pick search feature. So if you notice more than one violation, please click 2 or more violations as you see them. The assembly should not be marked in violation if you are unable to locate it. So how to report and correct the in violation assembly. If you find an assembly that is in violation, you have to report the information in CCAMS by checking unable to test, in violation, and then choose the violation type or types. And then do not test the assembly at that time. Please take digital photographs of the violations. If you're using the CCAMS mobile app, you can upload the photographs directly to CCAMS. Otherwise, you can email them to waterquality@sfwater.org along with a description of the violation. After the violation has been corrected, please take at least 2 correction photographs and provide them to water quality. One should be a close-up with the serial numbers, and at least one should be a wide-angle shot showing the correction. You can take more than 2 photos, and a lot of the corrections actually do need that so that you can actually see what was corrected. Once verified, water quality will then unlock the assembly in CCAMS and then provide you with a pick to enter the results. So just make sure in CCAMS, these are listed as untestable. So until it is actually unlocked by water quality, you cannot submit the test. Please keep this in mind, that it needs to be unlocked prior to entering the test. Replacements, relocations, adding bypasses, and other major repairs may require a plumbing permit from the San Francisco Department of Building Inspection. After water quality unlocks the assembly, you can submit the permit number with the test result. Permits to operate. So most of the testers here already know that all testers operated in the city must have a valid permit to operate with the San Francisco Department of Public Health Environmental Health Branch. The permit to operate is issued when your permit application is approved by Environmental Health. To maintain a valid permit, you must abide by the tester responsibilities, and you also must do the following on a regular basis. So some of the main things, I know it's a lot to keep track of for you guys, but so proof of your general liability insurance must be submitted annually. In addition, your test kit calibration should be submitted annually. And then proof of your Backflow tester certification from AWWA or other approved testing organization must be submitted every 3 years. So that's 2 things, 2 documents that has to be submitted to environmental health every year, and then another document every 3 years. In addition, ensure you pay your annual license fees to the San Francisco Treasurer and Tax Collector. So this is a little bit different than this year. I'm not sure if everybody's aware um, of the changes to the license fees. But in general, license bills are sent out by the SF tax collector at the beginning of March. If you do not receive your bill, contact Environmental Health and we can help you with that. Once paid, the tax collector will mail your license certificate. This permit license belongs to the tester, but the bills and certificates are mailed to the company address. Please note that the license cycle runs from April 1st to March 31st of the following year. Please remember, it is very important to notify Environmental Health, which is me, of employment and address changes so that you receive your bill and license in the mail. This is specific to this year. Due to the pandemic, San Francisco has recently extended the deadlines for paying both the 2021 license and the 21-22 license fees. So I think it actually just went through this week. The fees have been deferred as of right now to October 31st, 2021. However, things keep changing with the pandemic. So please refer to updates from the Office of the Mayor or the Treasurer and Tax Collector for additional changes this year. So on to tester violations and enforcement. Our goal is to encourage compliance with tester responsibilities to support the cross-connection program. Our intention is not to be punitive. However, test permits to operate may be suspended or revoked for violations, including the following. So late entry of test results. All test results should be submitted within 5 business days after the test. We are emphasizing enforcement for late entries that trigger the next action. Although you should always try to enter in the results within 5 business days, we understand that circumstances could occasionally prevent this from happening. Such as this summer, we know that there was issues when CCAMS was having maintenance, and so there was a delay in submitting some of the results. However, the late test results can cause frustration and confusion on the part of customers, unnecessary work for cross-connection control track, and an inaccurate account of the status of backflow assemblies in San Francisco. So please, at the beginning of the next month, please be aware that another action will occur. Maybe water quality will send out a second notice. Environmental health may send out a notice of violation, a citation, or administrative penalties. So it's always important at the end of the month, please check to make sure that you submitted all the tests that you did. Permits may also be suspended for failure to attend the annual meeting or online training. All testers not attending the meeting today are required to complete the online training. Another violation is testing modified or unapproved assemblies or not following the testing procedures in the UOC's Manual of Cross-Connection Control, 10th edition. Failure to submit accurate test results. Falsification of test results, for example, entering the wrong date so as to appear to be submitting within 5 days. It is very important to submit the correct test date. So I know there was some issues, a few tests fell through the cracks, especially when CCAMS was under maintenance. If for some reason a test comes up that needs to be submitted, please ensure that the correct date that the test was completed is actually submitted to CCAMS. There are separate dates for the entry date and for the submittal date. So please actually please submit what date the actual testing occurred. Failure to submit required documentation such as insurance and backflow certification to SFDPH. Enforcement actions may include warning letters, notices, and citation to conferences and administrative hearings. Onto the tester responsibilities. So please be aware that you will need to contact environmental health to ensure necessary updates are made to your permit, license, and profile when making changes. So whenever you add or change test companies, you need to contact environmental health when changing any of your contact information or when you stop operating in San Francisco. It is very important that we update all of this information in both DPH and CCAM's records, as well as with the tax collector. Test company responsibilities. Similarly, the test companies are required to register with environmental health and notify us when testers are added or removed from the company or agency, as they are covered under the insurance. A renewal form is also required when the company needs to update contact information. This is important for updating our records, maintaining the tester list, and for tax collector license purposes. The test company is also responsible for maintaining general liability insurance and submitting the certificate to environmental health. So, although all of the agencies with PUC water quality, DPH environmental health, and DBI plumbing inspection, we all collaborate in this cross connection program. However, there are things that you need to make sure that you go to the specific agency to do. So we'd like to clarify who you should contact and when. This information is provided in the instructions for authorized backflow prevention assembly testers, which is available on the sfwater.org/backflow website. However, hopefully this will help you to receive a faster response and reduce the need for us to forward emails to another agency and additional back and forth correspondence. So please contact water quality, and a lot of times this will be Montian or the people that work with her, submitting any plumbing permits that are not submitted in CCAM. So if a customer needs to submit this, or if a tester does, please email the plumbing permit or permit numbers to water quality so that they can either approve the placement or installation or deactivate the assembly in CCAM. Photos and correspondence for modified assemblies or for records that are not locked in CCAM. So all of the unlocking, please think of water quality. CCAM's technical issues. If you're having any issues with the mobile app or the website, please talk to water quality. PIC numbers or pre-printed test form for customers, or if you do the authorization, as Montian previously talked. Questions about testing notices or other general cross-connection control issues can also be directed to water quality. And then if any of the customers need to change or synchronize test months, they can also contact them. When to contact environmental health. So in most cases, please email me, Michelle Kanemoto. I deal mostly with the things for your permit to operate. So anything that has to do with your tester certification, like from AWWA, the certificate of liability insurance, your test kit calibrations, all of those documents should be submitted to the health department. Whenever you need to update your test company and contact information, please send that to me as well so that we can update your permit and send necessary information to the tax collector or other entities if needed. Any test company registrations or renewals or questions about notices of violation will come to the health department. And For Department of Building Inspection, Plumbing Inspection Division. Everything related to plumbing permit assistance and scheduling should be directed to them, especially for specific questions about permits. Please ask PID directly. However, please note that there are a few exceptions that do not fall under DBI jurisdiction, including facilities under the Port of San Francisco, OSHPD, Division of the State Architect, and the State Fire Marshal. For these facilities, contact the authority having jurisdiction if you have any questions about permits or approval for plumbing work. Environmental health and DBI have recently moved to 49 South Van Ness. Or if you've seen or visited our new building, but we're at 49 South Van Ness in the new Permit Center building. The Permit Center and multiple agencies are now located in one building to help streamline the permitting process for many businesses. Plumbing inspection is located in Suite 400 and environmental health is in Suite 600. If you haven't done so already, please ensure that your insurance company updates the certificate of liability insurance certificate holder, the mailing address, so that environmental health receives the new certificates to update in CCAMs and DPH records. In addition, please note that due to the pandemic and current safety protocols, services at our building may be limited and may require an appointment. Please check the website for current information before visiting our building. Plumbing permits. Only a licensed plumber or contractor may install, remove, replace, or relocate a backflow prevention assembly. A plumbing permit for the work must be obtained from the Department of Building Inspection, Plumbing Inspection, and Division. In CCAMs, you'll need to enter plumbing permit numbers for installations, removals, replacements, and relocations. Customers can also provide the permit number by calling or emailing water quality. Again, if the facility does not fall under DBI jurisdiction, such as facilities under the Port of San Francisco, OSHPD, Division of the State Architect, and the State Fire Marshal, you may contact the authority having jurisdiction for a permit or other type of approval and then enter that information into CCAM. Plumbing inspections can be scheduled online by calling inspection services or by calling the DBI scheduling number. Address and contact information for the Plumbing Inspection Division are provided in the instructions for backflow prevention assembly testers and are available on the Cross Connection Control Program's website at sfwater.org/backflow. You can check to see if a DBI plumbing permit was pulled or completed by going to the DBI permit tracking website. Please be advised that vague permits may not be accepted. So, especially for those of you that are licensed contractors, please clearly describe the plumbing work, including the details about the backflow assembly when you are pulling a permit. Ensure that the hazard and location of the assembly are clearly described. If possible, include the backflow serial number so that water quality can easily identify it in the future. In some cases, a vague plumbing permit description may be updated or revised before the final inspection. However, this can only be done by discussing with the senior or the chief plumbing inspector directly. So we're going to head to our question and answer section. Thank you all for attending. We are glad that we can all still gather, even though we're in a pandemic and it's not quite the same. Thank you for hanging with us with our trying to figure out all the technical aspects of this meeting as well. So just before I get to the question section, we are going to post information about how to record your attendance for this meeting. So similarly, when you attend our in-person meeting, you would sign in before you sit down. We are going to have you fill out an online form, and that information is going to be posted. It has a QR code so that you can either use your phone and go to or use the link provided so that you can sign in. Testers, please note that this is mandatory for our permitted testers. So make sure that even if maybe like two testers maybe watching this together, I know that we have some family members and husband and wives and stuff that may be on the same computer right now. Please make sure that each tester fills out this form. So right now you should be able to use the QR code. Hopefully some of you are familiar with that now that everything is digital. Or we will provide you with the link. I think we might be able to add it to the question and answers or chat as well. Please complete this today to verify that you attended the meeting today. If for some reason you have an issue with the link, please email.
I'd like to go over some of the questions that we received in the chat bar. One person asked how to get the meter number to enter into CCAMS. Perhaps, Ken, you'd like to take that one?
Probably would, if you need the meter number information, you can just email the Backflow mailbox or contact Montienne directly, and she should be able to provide you with that information.
Another question was whether testers could be classified as essential workers to increase their priority in getting a COVID-19 vaccination. June online?
Yeah, I can probably take that. So that's a great idea and question. We don't have control over the classification system that comes from the state. And I can see if I can figure out what the path would be to make that recommendation to the powers that be. So some of you may know that Dr. Aragon, who was our health officer in San Francisco, he is now left San Francisco and is now the state health officer and director of the Department of Public Health. So we, have a easier way, I think, of connecting with the state level decision makers than we used to. So all of that to be said, I think it's important, and I know a lot of you, a lot of the questions that we've gotten in the past months have been about customers being concerned about inviting testers into their homes, and of course testers being concerned about how to keep themselves safe. So yeah, it's a great question, and I'll see how we can move it forward. Thank you.
Another commenter expressed appreciation for the tag exchange program that we started for this January for changing 2020 for 2021 tags. He had a few suggestions about continuing this next year, and we will take that under advisement. Someone else asked whether the exact device location, whether it could be added to the mobile app. And in fact, it is already there. If you look under the Pick Search pending sync app screen, there is, under the downloaded test forms, the exact device location is there. If you have any other technical questions, or not technical, but specific questions about the CCAM's mobile app, email it to backflow@sfwater.org and we'll get back to you. Is there anything you wanted to add on that, Ivy?
No. So yes, so as I said on the Q&A portion, the exact device location is located on the Pick Search screen. But once you go in that individual assembly's test form, then you cannot find the location information there. It is located on the Pick Search screen on the mobile app. So that's why it is important also for the testers who are submitting new installs to be very specific to the location that they're adding on to that new install form, because that is what goes to that assembly's profile or assembly information that gets saved.
Okay. Someone else asked that we re-emphasize the importance of not testing assemblies that are, in violation or incorrect installation. Maybe Michelle, you could go over that again to discuss all the reasons for do not test applying and the importance of that.
I think, well, hopefully I answered that, because I think that question, when I saw it, it came up before, I think it was while Montian was talking. But the violation list should be, when you're looking at it in the drop-down menu, so such things as if the assembly is rotated, whether it's the body of the assembly or the shutoff valves, would be considered a violation. The incorrect orientation, so like in the example of when it was in a vertical down position, when it was only approved in the horizontal and vertical up position. If it's the wrong type of assembly, inadequate protection, an unapproved assembly that's not on the USC list, modified assemblies, which could mean a variety of different things, and I can't go through every single one of those, but if the assembly has been modified in any way, that invalidates the approval. Clearance issues such as less than 12 inches, and you're not able to test the assembly because there's inadequate space to do so. Missing bypasses, if it is located over 5 feet and not easily accessible. Improper air gaps, brass or copper after the assembly, or if something we put as permanently inaccessible. This shouldn't be something where it's like somebody didn't give you, the key to the room or something. This is where something happened and you can't access the assembly anymore, and the assembly actually has to be relocated. That's the violation. If it's more like you need to go back the next day, don't mark that as in violation. Just set up the test for another day.
That is the last of our questions.
I think we have more questions on top of that list, Stephanie.
Or do we? Oh, you're right. I beg your pardon. First question says, and I'm not quite sure what is meant. It says, under the circumstances we are in, I assume that's the pandemic, if we aren't able to locate a facility where we can renew our license, are we required to inform Michelle immediately? Michelle?
Sorry, I was typing something about that. We can't locate a facility.
That is what the question says.
I think probably what they mean is the ability to go and get the tester recertification from AWWA or one of the other certifying agencies. So I think my sense is that we will, once CCAMS locks you out as soon as your tester certificate has expired. I think there might be a little grace period. And so my understanding is that AWWA has made some provisions for people to extend their expiration dates if they can't. So it's really becomes between you and the certifying agency. Our requirement is that you be a certified tester with one of the agencies that is on our list. Most of you are AWWA. So we don't really have the flexibility to change that requirement. But if your certifying agency can, grant you an extension of your expiration date, given whatever your particular circumstances are, then we would accept that and then, basically just extend the re-enter a new expiration date into CCAMS for you. So I'll let Montia and Ivy and Michelle add on to that from the logistical part.
Yeah, I mean, contact me if you're having issues. I believe most of the people at the very beginning during the summer and stuff, I know that there were some issues. But I haven't had anybody recently tell me that they weren't able to sign up for a class. So please reach out to me. We can discuss separately because I know that people have been taking the classes and getting their renewals done. So if this is, case by case, please.
Another question asked for clarification about how long testers have to submit results online. And the answer to that is and has always been 5 days, unless the assembly fails and cannot be repaired that day, in which case you have to enter the failed results the day of the test. Somebody else has a question about, or said he was having trouble submitting photos online with the mobile app. I'm not sure. I don't think we want to try and address that today, Ivy, but how should this person follow up with you?
So for submission of photos through the mobile application, it is only allowed for assemblies being reported as a violation or for new installs. Now, if they already have a photo and they want to post it on CCAMS, then if they cannot do it through the mobile, they can email it to backflow@sfwater.org, and our staff will be uploading it for them.
Okay. Someone has asked what the reason is for taking away the standard service off the new installation form. I assume that's, well, perhaps I shouldn't assume. I'm not sure if that's under the hazard or what could. Perhaps Montiam would take that, or?
Yes, so well, Ivy and we can bring that up. Ivy and Michelle and I. So we removed the standard because that's not considered a hazard. In place of that, we have either the different hazards, whether it's over 40 feet or 40 feet, or we also included the other as an alternative if it's really, but we considered standard as not a hazard.
I
That's the
think
reason
that
why it was removed. But
yeah,
please, if anyone wants to add to it.
I think people were using it as a way of not writing the specific isolation hazard type. So we want in CCAMs to be correctly recorded. So if it's a boiler assembly, even if it's on the standard service, we want to make sure that it is showing as a boiler and not just as standard. It gets very complicated, especially when we're trying to deactivate or remove assembly and it just says standard and we don't know what it was tied to. So that's why, just to make sure that the more specific hazard type is listed, and make sure that people are selecting, boiler or, some other type of thing that is the actual hazard. And then, as Montian stated, if it is actually due to the height of the building, there is still that option.
Someone has asked if it's possible to email completed test results to tester from the mobile app.
Yes. So if the question means, so if this is if a tester is requesting to be emailed a copy of the completed test form, then they can enable that on their profile. Just so when they're logged into CCAMS, there is a screen from the dashboard to go to their profile and then enable emailing of test reports. So if that setting is enabled, every time they submit a test report, a copy of that completed test form will be sent to their email.
Perfect. Someone has said that he is on his mobile phone and needs the link to the questionnaire. I assume that's the meeting attendance confirmation.
I also, I think, replied to the person right now with
Oh, you did? Okay, perfect. Thanks. And somebody has asked if the URL for attendance to be posted on the Q&A. Are you going to do that, Michelle?
It has been posted on Q&A.
It has been posted. Okay, I haven't scrolled up far enough. Someone has asked if the in violation status is on the mobile app.
Yes, it is there. So if an assembly was reported as a violation and, like, for example, a tester has the PIC number, downloaded the assembly information, the assembly information will be downloaded on the mobile app and it will say untestable. So it will be marked. The tester will know if they're allowed or not allowed to test that device.
Someone has asked whether ladders were required to be on site for assemblies that are over 5 feet, or whether it was the rule that the assembly just has to be accessible. I believe the plumbing code says that assemblies may not be, or if they are 5 feet above grade, they need a permanent platform. But I think this is a question for Dave Letta from Building Inspection.
Yes, that is correct. Permanent ladder, and it needs to have an accessible work surface to test the device.
So if it does not, then you should report that assembly to water quality, and we will contact the plumbing department and have the owner take steps to correct that.
Correct.
Someone has asked about how to be added as a tester. Michelle, she's in charge of that.
They can contact me. I'll provide my email to the person directly. But there is an application process and an exam to become a tester. So that person can follow up with me and we'll hopefully get that done. We are planning hopefully to have some exams in January. But due to social distancing and safety protocols and everything, all the documentation must be submitted to me prior to coming to the exam so that we can decrease the time. So once I send you the information, please make sure that you email me back all the documentation first, and then hopefully we can get you set up for an exam.
Someone has asked for clarification about the about testing assemblies that are 5 feet above grade, and he said he thought that the tester can bring their own ladder or platform, and the customer doesn't need to have one on site. What do you say to that, David?
I think he's on mute.
No, the code clearly states is that it has to have a permanent ladder and work surface has to be there. And you can find that in California Plumbing Code as well as the UPC.
Another question about the mobile application. Can we list on the mobile app why the device is in violation and not just untestable?
That is not, yes. So the installation status is not yet available through mobile application. So that will be an enhancement. So we'll work on that probably middle this year. Can add that.
Thanks for bringing that to our attention. As we try to make the app more useful as we go along. Are there any other questions? Apparently not.
This is Montian. I just want to add regarding the question about how to locate the meter number. So the meters are usually located at the service connection. So that's where the meter numbers are.
Ken, do you have some closing words for us, or does anyone else want to add anything?
I think we just got one more question.
I think we did. And this is another question for you, David.
Yeah, I see that.
You do see it?
Yeah, no, I can see the question. The way I read the code, it clearly states that it has to be there, and the device has to be under 5 feet. You have to have permanent platform and work surface, and it has to be accessible by a permanent ladder.
So I can just add in, I mean, this is a code compliance question, and the code is very clear. And so we don't have the flexibility to tell you, like, to defy the code. The purpose of the code is to make sure that the tester is regardless of who the tester is and what their own like physical and risk taking fear of heights is, that anybody who has the certified capability can access the device to test it properly. And also, I think to ensure that the test itself can be performed properly. So you need to be able to have the access and the ability to not be like balancing your gauge on your shoulder. To the extent that those purposes of the code are being fulfilled in an environment, my understanding is that DBI or DPH or water quality is not going to be sending out inspectors to see if a device is 5 foot point, and 1 inch above and does or doesn't have the permanent ladder. So you all are professionals who have the ability to, to make decisions about whether something should be reported as a code violation to DBI, and there's a process for doing that. And ultimately, that's part of the collaboration between the 3 agencies in enforcing this program. So hopefully that helps.
We have a few more questions. Someone has asked whether the WATS digital program system works with CCAMs. Ivy, I assume that's to you.
Yes, so I am not familiar yet with what the WATS digital program system does. So probably not. It will not work with CCAMs right now.
Yeah, if they can send us some information on it, I'm not familiar with that either. I don't know if they're referring to a gauge or something, or is this assembly? Yeah, so if they can send us some more information on that, that would be helpful.
Someone else has asked whether a drain pipe was required for an RP that is outside.
Provided the discharge on the RP can discharge in a safe manner, like say down into a gravel bed or a pit where it's not going to flood the device. If it's going to flood the device or run across a public sidewalk, then it's going to have to get drained. But if it's in an area where it's going to just go into the ground and in a safe location, it's not going to be required. Only if it crosses a public sidewalk or creates a hazard.
Someone else has asked whether there's going to be a way to upload multiple assembly results into CCAMs. I assume that someone would like to, yes, upload a chunk of data at one time without having to enter results for each assembly separately.
Right.
I'll let Ivy talk about like whether that's ever possible, but I know this has come up before, and we had discussed the idea of whether there was a way to kind of batch some results, because some of the bigger companies have their own data entry systems, and so doing them into their own systems and then doing them into ours and then doing them into whatever other jurisdictions. So it is something, that we would like to be able to provide that ability. Right now, I don't think it is something that we can accommodate, but definitely appreciate being reminded that it's something that is desirable.
Right, you're correct, June. Thank you.
Are there any further questions? If so, speak now or forever hold your peace.
And this is Michelle. It looks like I've had several responses to the attendance form, so thank you for doing that. It looks like it was pretty successful. If you were, for some reason, had issues with it, please email me.
And I invited my cat because it wouldn't be a COVID meeting without a cat.
And Monty and the roosters.
Yes, my roosters, and I think my youngest son had a parents.
I believe that's the last of the questions.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks again, everyone, for taking time out of your busy day to participate in this annual meeting. Even though this is virtual, we're hoping that next year we'll be back to having an in-person meeting once everyone has gotten vaccinated and, we kind of get a handle on this thing. So, just be safe out there. Look out for each other. And you know where to find us if you have any questions. Just either go online or, or contact us directly. Thank you and have a nice day.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.